Well, the political row over Qantas and how best to level the playing field for aviation in Australia has fully erupted here in Canberra today after the Prime Minister last night laid his cards on the table, refusing a debt guarantee for the company, instead proposing to change the Qantas Sales Act to allow greater foreign investment in the company. But Labor has made it clear today that it will not support such changes. They'll sail through the House of Representatives when they are introduced, possibly as early as later this week, but when it comes to the Senate, well, the government does not have the numbers, and this will be blocked, not only by Labor but also by the Greens and even the Palmer United Party, which has confirmed today that it will not support these changes. So even from July, the government's task in getting these changes through is very, very difficult indeed, if not impossible. Still, the Finance Minister, Senator Matthias Cormann, is appealing to Labor to consider the long-term interests of Qantas and aviation in general.
Bill Shorten, Anthony Albanese, the Labor Party today, they're going for the lazy populism instead of reflecting on what is genuinely in the long-term interest of Australia. And that is what we urge Bill Shorten, Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party to do. Think very carefully what is the medium to long-term interest of Australia, and then make your judgment on how you will deal with the legislation when it comes to the Senate.
But Labor says the reasons for it not supporting these changes are very real indeed. First and foremost, that they don't want to see Qantas jobs be sent offshore if the company is, as would be expected, split in two into its domestic and international arms, and the domestic part of that company most likely falling into majority foreign hands. The Shadow Transport Minister, Anthony Albanese, was also on PM Agenda this afternoon. He says that the government does not have a plan B, so Qantas is going to suffer.
What they've had now is they're saying there's no plan B. We're going to put up something, we know it won't get through, and the consequences of that somehow we're not responsible for. They are the government. They need to start acting like the government and stop, instead of continuing to act like a destructive, negative opposition.
The day, in terms of the political battle over Qantas, started early today with several members of the government out and about trying to sell the decision that had been made by Cabinet last night. Our reporter Tom Connell picks up the story.
Having made its decision overnight, the Cabinet hit the morning airwaves, selling their message to voters.
We think this is the best way, Koshi, of ensuring that Qantas has a future as one of the world's great airlines.
To give them the chance to compete on a level playing field.
But if the Sale Act is to change, the government will need to convince Labor, and that looks unlikely.
In the middle of the night last night, the government comes out and says that our only answer for Qantas is to sell it off overseas.
But you've got a government now which is determined to put something to the Parliament which is not going to go through.
The Greens could also help repeal the Qantas Sale Act, but they too are saying no and have their own idea.
We will be moving for an inquiry into how to develop a plan to best support Qantas, and we want to look at all the options.
Come July, Clive Palmer would be another potential ally for the government. He too is not convinced.
And unless this bill gets through the Senate before we take our office in July, it just won't be passed.
While Qantas says repealing the Sale Act would help, the legislative reality has meant the airline was banking on another option, a government-backed debt guarantee.
Can the Prime Minister confirm that a debt guarantee for Qantas was under active consideration by the government as late as yesterday?
They asked for it, we thought about it and we rejected it.
Coalition MPs are said to have overwhelmingly supported Cabinet's decision, but given the political stalemate, some National MPs are reported to have asked their leader Warren Truss, what's the plan B? The Deputy Prime Minister said there wasn't one. The Treasurer, though, had a little more detail.
Plan B is to improve the economy. That's what we've got to focus on so that all airlines employing Australians can do well.
Tom Connell, Sky News, Canberra.